Welcome to Architrave Gaming. I'm the Archmaster. Thank you for dropping by. The topic of today's discussion is kind of a preamble Kickstarter to a series I'm going to run talking about my game system, which I've been working on for 2 months straight without uploading any videos. And by the way, today the beta 0.2 is actually done, and I will release it very soon. Anyway, the topic of today's talk is something that was on my mind, and I thought I really have to get this out because this is important to understand a lot of things that I'm going to say in the upcoming series, in the upcoming videos, and a lot of things that are just in the book. It's the difference between an adventure game and a storytelling game. I consider these two totally different hobbies, and a lot of people think that D&D 5e, as well as the whole RPG genre, the whole hobby, is a storytelling game hobby. Even in D&D 5e, it says this is a storytelling game, right? Lots of people think it's a collaborative storytelling game, right? And I don't think so. I think it's an adventure game, and I think it's a very poor adventure game. And I think there are storytelling games out there, but my system, what I'm going for, I'm trying to clear the waters and clarify so you know exactly what you're getting into when you play my system, and also so that you have a vocabulary to understand other people's games, other people's systems, how they run those games, etc. So, I support an adventure game. My system is an adventure game. I think that's the most fun you can have. I think it's a lot better than storytelling games. Why? Well, what's the difference between the two first? In an adventure game, it's about having an experience. A storytelling game is about telling a story. So on the one hand, you're telling a story about, Grognard doing something awesome. And on the other hand, with the adventure game, you are actually doing something awesome. You're not telling a story about someone else doing something cool, you're doing something cool. I think that's a lot better. I say, you're the paying customer. You're the one here, at my table in front of me. I want you to have a good time. I don't want you to simply sit back and watch a fictional character have a good time, right? I want you to have a good time. That's kind of my whole shtick. Like, I'm pro player experience, right? So I say, I want you to have an experience rather than tell a story about another character having an experience, right? I want it to feel real. I want you to actually go on an adventure rather than tell a story about someone else doing it, right? So I hear you say, well, wait a minute. Just before you click off this video for how crazy I am, you're like, wait, hold on. It's all fictional. You're not really doing anything. You're not really going on an adventure. Isn't everything storytelling? Like, we're telling stories about it. Isn't that kind of like the whole thing? Like, what other options are there? And you're right. I totally didn't think of that. I should just delete this video. Just kidding. I did think about that, and that's why I'm here. So that objection comes from a good place, but it lacks a distinction between what is real and what is physical. Where in the real world, say you have a soldier goes off to Afghanistan and fights a war, right? He's having the real experience of fighting the war. Or you could be a storyteller and write a novel, tell a story about a soldier going off to Afghanistan and fighting a war, right? Which one is the real experience and which one is not, right? Well, the soldier actually doing the thing is real, and just telling a story about it is not. And so you may think, well, in D&D and all these tabletop games, we just tell a story about characters doing stuff. We don't actually do the things ourselves, right? Like, my whole position is I want you to do the thing yourself. But you say, well, that's impossible. No one's actually physically slaying dragons. What do you mean by really have the adventure? And that's the distinction between physical and between real. So, you can really do something, and it can be really done, or an experience really had, without being physical. A prime example of this is a spelling bee. You can actually really win a spelling bee, even though nothing physical was done. You're not doing anything in a spelling bee any more physical than you do at a table. But it can still be real. You really won. Why? What's the difference there? The difference is that it was objectively decided that you won rather than you simply telling a story, right? It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I'm going to write a story about my hero, and then the hero goes to the spelling bee and he gets all the words right and then he won. Wow, he won the spelling bee, right? That's a story about your hero winning the spelling bee. It's another to actually win the spelling bee. So it doesn't have to do anything, it doesn't have anything to do with physical versus fiction. It has to do with real versus fiction, right? So what is real? What makes something real? Well, you have to look at the structure of real life and what makes real life feel real. 3 things I'm going to bring up in this video. There are more, but these are the 3 ones important to this topic. It is the structure and consistency of the world, right? It's not up to whim. It's not you know, blah, blah, blah. It's structured, right? Here's the spelling bee. Here are the rules, right? The game system, okay? Next is objectivity. Who wins or loses has to be objectively decided. It can't be any person saying, oh, well, I think you ought to win, or, you know, swayed by emotion or feeling, or because it would make a great story. No, no, no. You actually won. In order to actually go on an adventure, actually kill a dragon, actually win, it has to be objectively decided, right? We use rules and we use dice for that. And thirdly, it has to be persistent. No takesies backsies. If you lost the spelling bee, you lost it. You can't just go back and redo it and try it again, right? If you won the spelling bee, you won it. You can't go back and redo, right? If you died, you died in character, right? So the consistency of structure, the objectivity, and the persistence, that's what makes something real. So when I say I want you to really go on an adventure and like really win and really kill dragons and really do all this stuff, of course we're talking about within the fiction, within your narrative description of what's going on. But it can't just be storytelling. It has to be real, you see? And here's part 2 of the video where I get into the philosophy of why. If you don't care why, you can click off now. My whole philosophy, my whole, the thing backing this style of play comes from a lot of places. But here's just one analogy, I suppose. I think gaming is food for the soul. I think it is, it's not the only food, but it's one of the foods of the soul. Humans need to game. We need to play, okay? And I view, you know, storytelling or gaming where you just win, you fudge the dice in order to make the players not, you know, the characters not die, you know, you curate the experience for their pleasure. I view that kind of like ice cream. It's soft, it's really sweet, it's super pleasurable, but it doesn't nourish you. There's no real substance to it. It's just cheap, sweet pleasure. I promote steak. I want to eat steak. Steak is tough to chew, it's hard, it's certainly not sweet, it can be a little charred and burnt and have pepper on it. Like, it's in a lot of ways not as pleasant an experience, but it's food, it's true food, it nourishes you, you actually feel good, and it helps build your body, okay? So in the same way, I think gaming that is cheap and sweet and just gives you what you want and, you know, oh well, I just had fun, like, the whole idea of, well, we're just here to have fun. It's like, well, that's like saying that food is just here to be pleasurable. Like, well, no, actually, it's also here to nourish you if that's the food you're going for. I promote nourishing food. I promote nourishing gaming, not just sweet, cheap hits of dopamine. I want it to actually build your character. I want you to do the hard things and chew the tough meat and actually, you know, put in the effort to play a game. And yes, I do think that you should put in effort. I do think that that results in the best reward long term, right? Eating steak, you're going to be happy that you ate the steak the next day and the week after, right? A lot of people regret eating ice cream, right? Doesn't mean, you know, pleasure and ice cream and easy things are bad all the time, right? I eat ice cream, you eat ice cream, but just keep it in moderation, right? That's my that's my philosophy. That's what I promote in my system, in my world, in my gaming, and all the arbiter advice that I give to arbiters who are running games and even to players is embrace the difficulty, embrace the hardship of it because it's good for you. I love you. I want you to have a good life. I want you to have good gaming. I want you to be nourished. I want you to leave the table feeling like you had a transcendent experience. You had something that nourished you more fully than if you had sat and watched Netflix or, you know, played a video game or done anything else. I think tabletop as a medium has the power and the potential to offer so much more than any other cheap source of just entertainment and pleasure. I think there's really something to be found in tabletop, and it lies in the player agency and the effort you put forth and the, you know, emotions that you can have that are real and the fact that you're in the story, etc. All that. So that's why I promote this. That's my philosophy. That's what I'm going for here. I don't want it to be storytelling. I want it to be adventuring, right? What I call real is what I call adventuring, right? When it actually happens, when it's real, when you won or you lost and there's no takesies backsies and the dice decide and it's objective and it's your choices and the dice and you find out what happens, right? I think that makes it real. You really feel like you had the experience because you really won and there's nothing to take it back. So anyway, that's what I have for you. It's really nice to be back. The system is Beta 0.2 is about done. I'm going to release it very soon, and I'd love to have playtesting feedback, but I'm going to cover all that in another video. In the meantime, y'all have a good day. God bless.